Before I start, understand this. If you are tired right now, if your eyes are heavy, if part of you is thinking about falling asleep after this video, you should not listen to what comes next. Because this story isn't about fear. It's about conditioning, about how something learned my body better than I ever did. I didn't escape it. I was released. And there's a difference. Why I needed the house. I didn't move there because I wanted a fresh start. I moved there because I needed to disappear. A bad breakup. A job I quit without a backup plan. Friends who slowly stopped answering messages. The kind of quiet collapse that doesn't look dramatic from the outside, but eats you alive when you're alone with it. When I found the listing, it felt wrong immediately. Too cheap. Too much space. No photos of the upstairs. The landlord's message was short, available immediately, no long-term questions. First month discounted. That should have been enough to make me close the tab. Instead, I replied within minutes. The landlord was older than I expected. Thin, pale, eyes that looked past me instead of at me. He unlocked the front door and stepped aside, letting me enter first. That should have bothered me. People don't do that unless they're sure of something. The house smelled clean but not lived in. No air freshener, no dust. Just absence. This place used to belong to my brother, he said casually. He didn't sleep well, I laughed, expecting him to smile. He didn't. The room he didn't show me, we toured the first floor. Living room, kitchen, bathroom, everything normal. Then I noticed the staircase. Upstairs? I asked. He paused. Most tenants don't use that room, he said. You can, if you want. He didn't move toward it. I didn't push. The first week, too quiet. The first week felt fake. No traffic sounds, no neighbors, no dogs barking at night. At first, I loved it. I slept better than I had in months. Or at least I thought I did. Looking back, I realized something important. I didn't dream. Not once. The first interruption wasn't visual. It was physical. I woke up with my heart racing, convinced I had been shaken awake. But no one was there. I checked the time. 2:11 a.m. That number would become familiar. I fell back asleep. When I woke up in the morning, my pillow was on the floor. Standing upright. Rational explanations. I did what everyone does. I rationalized old house, stress, adjustment period. I even joked about it with friends. But after the third night, the pattern became impossible to ignore. Every time I woke up suddenly, I woke up facing the wall. I don't sleep like that. I move constantly. But my body had started doing something new. It stayed still. The first sound wasn't footsteps, it was pressure. Like someone shifting weight very slowly in the room, I held my breath. The pressure stopped. I exhaled. It started again. That's when I realized it was responding to me. The upstairs at night, I didn't go upstairs during the day. I didn't want to see it, but I heard it every night. Something walking above me, not pacing, not wandering. Crossing the room once, stopping, then nothing. Until the next night. The camera I installed, a cheap security camera in my bedroom, motion activated, night vision. The first night, it triggered. The clip showed me sleeping, nothing else. But the timestamp jumped forward 40 minutes, no footage in between. The camera was still warm when I picked it up. The first rule formed that night. I learned the first rule instinctively. Whatever it is, it notices movement. So I stopped moving, I slept stiff. Arms at my sides, breathing shallow, and the footsteps shortened. The note expanded. The note didn't just appear once, it appeared 3 times. Always the same handwriting, always the same sentence. You move too much. The third time, something else was added beneath it. You'll learn. The upstairs bedroom, finally, I went upstairs during the day. I don't know why. Curiosity. Defiance. Maybe exhaustion. The door was open. The room was empty. No furniture. No dust. No signs of use. The window was boarded shut from the inside. And the floor. The floor was worn in one spot, right next to where the bed would have been. Like someone had stood there for a very long time. The breathing that night, the breathing was closer. Right beside my ear, slow, controlled, almost polite. I didn't open my eyes. And that saved me. When IT started learning me after that night, I stopped pretending this was normal. I didn't wake up anymore. I surfaced. Every time my consciousness rose, it felt like breaking through thick water. My body stayed perfectly still, even before I realized I was awake. As if some part of me had learned faster than the rest. I started waking up already holding my breath. That wasn't fear. That was training. The second rule formed slowly. The house didn't just notice movement. It noticed attention. The nights when I forced my mind blank counting numbers, repeating songs, thinking about anything but the room, the pressure faded quicker. The nights when I listened, it stayed, leaning closer, waiting. So I learned the second rule. Don't focus on it. The upstairs changed. The upstairs bedroom wasn't the same anymore. I checked it again 3 days later. The boards on the window were still there, but the nails were bent outward now, like something had pressed against them from inside. The worn spot on the floor was darker, deeper. I realized then that it wasn't where a bed had been. It was where something stood, night after night, facing downward, toward my room. The neighbor again, I went back to the woman down the street. This time she didn't pretend. "You've stayed too long," she said before I even spoke. "How long is too long?" I asked. She looked at me carefully. "When it starts adjusting to you." That made my stomach drop. "What is it?" I asked. She shook her head. "Not what, where." She told me the house wasn't haunted. It was incomplete. The space between. She explained it badly. Like someone describing a color they'd only seen once. Some places, she said, are built wrong. Not physically, conceptually. The walls are where they should be, but the space between moments isn't. Sleep, she said, is when the mind stops enforcing boundaries. And some places wait for that. "You ever notice how it never touches you?" she asked. "Yes. It doesn't need to," she said. "It's watching how you rest, how you breathe, what you do right before you disappear." I asked her why she still lived nearby. She smiled without humor. "It doesn't like me," she said. "I don't sleep." The third rule, the one I broke, I didn't want to hear it, but I already knew. Don't stay too long. And I had already failed. The night it spoke, it didn't use a voice. It used timing. I was lying still, eyes closed, heart pounding so hard I thought it might give me away. The pressure was there, closer than ever. And then the house creaked. Not randomly. Deliberately, like a response. Then the pressure shifted, and something pressed down on the mattress beside me. Not weight, absence, like space folding inward. And a thought formed in my head. Not words, understanding. "You're almost right." I don't know how I knew that's what it meant. I just did. The mirror returns, I replaced the bathroom mirror. I needed to know if I was losing my mind. That night, I caught it again. My reflection didn't move when I did. Just stared. And behind it, something stood where my reflection should have been. Not tall this time. Bent. Folded inward. Learning shape. I smashed the mirror again. This time, the footsteps started immediately. The first touch had touched me once. Just once. A fingertip. Cold, right behind my ear. I didn't scream. I didn't flinch. I didn't even breathe. And it withdrew, satisfied. What it wanted, it wasn't trying to scare me. That's the part I understood too late. It was trying to map me. My breathing cycles. My sleep depth. The moment consciousness faded. The moment it returned. It wasn't hunting. It was studying. The landlord returns. The landlord came back without warning. He stood in the doorway like he'd always been there. "You should leave," he said. "You didn't say that before." He nodded slowly. "It hadn't chosen you yet? What happens if I stay?" I asked. He hesitated. Then said, "You won't disappear." Not like the others. That terrified me more than anything else. The files he showed me documents. Old tenant complaints, medical records, sleep studies. Always the same progression. Weeks of insomnia, episodes of paralysis, perceived presence. And then, stability. They stopped reporting symptoms, stopped complaining, stopped leaving. Their bodies stayed. Something else didn't. The final adjustment, the last week, the house changed completely. No footsteps, no breathing, no pressure. It let me sleep. Too well. Too deeply. I started waking up refreshed, calm, empty. I realized the truth at the worst possible moment. It wasn't keeping me awake anymore. It didn't need to. YLEFT. The reason I survived is simple. It wasn't finished. Something interrupted it. A power outage. A storm. I don't know. But the house went quiet, truly quiet, and I ran. Epilogue. The after effect. I don't sleep alone now. Not because I'm afraid, because I know something else learned how I sleep. And sometimes when the room is quiet and I stay too still, I feel it checking to see if I still belong to the house. I thought I was free for a while. I believed leaving was enough. I moved cities, changed jobs, threw away everything I owned that came from that house. For the first month, I slept. Not well, but I slept. No footsteps, no pressure, no presence. I convinced myself the house had failed, that it needed the structure, the angles, the space. I was wrong. The first sign, it started with small corrections. I'd fall asleep on my side and wake up on my back. I'd cover my eyes and find my hands folded neatly at my sides. I'd wake up facing the same direction every time, toward the door, just like before. But now there was no house, which meant it wasn't tied to the building. The building had only helped it learn what incomplete really meant. I went back to the woman down the street. She was gone. House empty. No furniture. No records of her name. Only one thing left behind. A notebook. Inside it, a sentence repeated over in different handwriting. It needs a sleeper. Not a victim. Not a body. A sleeper. The purpose of the house wasn't a trap. It was a classroom. The angles weren't wrong. They were adjustable. The silence wasn't emptiness. It was space being made. Sleep was the condition. And the thing inside the house wasn't feeding. It was learning how to exist here. By watching us disappear into unconsciousness. By standing where we couldn't see it. By learning what a human looks like when they're not enforcing reality. Why others didn't leave. The tenants who stabilized weren't cured. They were completed. They stayed because the house no longer needed to watch them. It had already moved in. The dream I wasn't supposed to have 2 months after leaving, I dreamed for the first time. I was standing in an empty room, white walls, no corners, no doors, just light. And something standing in front of me. It looked almost human now, almost. Its limbs bent the wrong way when it shifted. Its face was a suggestion, not a shape, and it didn't scare me. That's what terrified me most. It leaned closer, and for the first time, it spoke. Not aloud, directly. You taught me enough. What I Talford, it didn't threaten me. It didn't need to. It showed me something instead. A moment of perfect rest, a sleep without dreams, without fear, without waking. An end to exhaustion, an end to resistance. I understood then why people stayed, why they stopped fighting, why they didn't disappear. They were still here, just not awake. Why I said nitrogen monoxide, I don't think I'm brave. I think I'm stubborn. I thought of the house, the notebook, the way it stood behind me without touching, and I realized something. It didn't want my body. It wanted my permission. Sleep, willingly given. I refused. The consequence, I don't sleep deeply anymore. I don't dream often, but I do wake up every time. And that matters, because now I know the truth. It's not everywhere, not yet. It spreads through sleepers, through places where people stop paying attention, through houses where someone learns to stay perfectly still. Why I'm warning you, if you ever move somewhere new and the silence feels too complete, if you wake up facing the same direction every morning, if you start sleeping better than you ever have, pay attention. Because rest shouldn't feel rehearsed, and sleep was never meant to be shared. Final word, I survived because I left early. Others didn't. And if you're listening to this story right now, half asleep, eyes heavy, that's not an accident. It's always listening, learning, waiting for you to stop moving.